Hello and welcome. I'm just checking I've got my microphone up and that you can hear me. And welcome to this week of lives all around anxiety. I think I've gone live. So, welcome. First things first, this is going to be on an open page, so I just want you to be mindful that if you share anything, which I would love you to do, I would love you to post comments and ask me questions. But just be mindful that it is on an open page. I'm also posting this in my private group, which you can also access if you would like to do that, which is anxiety, stress, and overwhelm. It's connected to this page, so you should be able to find it no problem if you wanted to post anything in there. So you can ask me any questions at any point during this next half an hour or so that I'm going to be going live. Yeah, you don't need to wait till the end. You can put questions in. I'm hoping that they will pop up on the side as I'm speaking, so I should see them. But if not, you can comment on the post below and I will get to it after I've done the live. Or you can private email me with pleasure, jackie@jackiejones.co.uk, which is my website, and you can find all the information about me on there. There's also a link up at the top, I think now, that's got freebies in there, which is things that you can access for free, because I'm all about giving as much as I possibly can. Hence the reason why I'm doing a live every night this week. So just a bit of an introduction on what to expect. This is how it's going to be. I will be posting live on my group. Not sure what all that is that's just popped up. I will be posting live this week. Sorry, I'm just going to hide some stuff on here, which is coming up. And I have no idea what it is, but I am going to take it off. So as I was saying, you can comment with pleasure on this. You can ask me any questions, but just be mindful that it is on an open page. And because somebody just posted some things on there, which were a bit random, and I didn't particularly want them on there because it wasn't asking a question, it was just posting something. You can ask me anything at any point, and if I don't get to answer your question during the live, I will definitely answer you after. So the setup of this is that I will be going live for about half an hour. It depends how many questions I get asked. I'm happy to stay on here for as long as need be if there's lots of comments and questions coming in. I would love to get some feedback, and I would love to get some comments if there is anybody watching. There was quite a few people that registered an interest, so hopefully they will join at some point, which is why I'm probably waffling for the first 5 or 10 minutes, really, just because I would like people to get the juicy bits. There are going to be some juicy bits tonight that I am going to be talking about. So yeah, what I said about that, it's on an open page that you can ask me any questions. You can post on here, or you can email me with pleasure. A private email, and that's pretty much it. So this week is going to be all around exploring anxiety. There is a free course that is also advertised that kind of goes along with this. As I said, I'm all up for doing things for free at the moment. I decided to do this. I don't even think we'd gone in lockdown. I think I kind of decided to do this at the end of December, but gave myself a month to actually talk about this and to advertise it. So hopefully I will be reaching more people. But yeah, we're in lockdown number 3. We're kind of 3 weeks into lockdown number 3. I've got a 16-year-old. Anybody that follows me will know that I've got 3 children. I will introduce myself in a little bit. But yeah, he's doing homeschooling at the moment, or supposed to be. It's quite difficult. Any parents that are out there and are listening to this, we're in this together. He's 16. I work from home. I see private clients at home. So we're fighting for the internet juice pretty much constantly all day, whether he's doing things or I'm doing things. But he's been left to his own devices an awful lot. Trusting that he is actually accessing his online courses and doing what he should be doing. So I'm not actually too convinced that he's doing that 100% of the time. But as I started saying this, I'm working from home, so we've got homeschooling. We're in lockdown 3, and I've noticed that a lot of my clients are talking about anxiety. So it is something that I've done some courses on. The minimal cost, they're like a fiver, or like I said, I can give you a coupon so that you can actually access the Exploring Anxiety one for free. If you just message me, I'm happy to share that. So I just wanted to pop on and kind of get a bit of interaction going within the group and see if there was anything else that I could offer to help people out while we're all going through this. And anxiety is one of the things that I think a lot of people are experiencing, maybe more than usual, or for the first time possibly. So this is, it might be something new that's happening to you now. And the things that I'm going to talk about might also be a bit new for you. I'm not going to give you top 10 tips for beating anxiety. I'm not going to go down that road. I do believe that some of the things that I say will help you, but you've got to be invested in wanting to make a change yourself. As a psychotherapist, I can't make things happen. It's about an exploration around anxiety and around your thoughts and things like that that are going to start to make a change for people. So that's what it's all about. But as I said, you can contact me privately if you don't want to comment on this live. So first things first, that's a bit of an introduction about. I've not really given away much content about what we're going to cover because I have got an outline plan, but I'm going to go with the flow, and dependent on where the comments or posts take me, I have had some questions, but I'm going to start to answer those later on in the week. But who am I? I'm Jackie. I run a psychotherapy from my home. I see clients private, was face-to-face, but now it's via Zoom. And I'm trained in transactional analysis. So that's my background. I also use the 3 principles in coaching. So I do psychotherapy and I also do coaching. I've also done, what else have I done? I've done NLP. I've qualified to use hypnotherapy. I've done Reiki. I've done lots of things. I'm one of those people that if something tweaks my interest, then I will see if I can do a course on it. So yeah, I've got a quite varied qualifications. I work with families, I work with children, I work with couples. I'm a qualified nursery nurse. That was one of the first jobs. Well, actually, my first job was as a hairdresser. I went into the family business. My mum, my sister, 2 cousins, it's kind of a family thing that a lot of us decided to be hairdressers for some reason. So that was my first job. But early on in my career, it was working as a nursery nurse. I used to be a tutor for Stafford College, working out in the community with preschool children and parents, which I absolutely loved. So that was the first job that I did. And then I went on to do other things. I've also had a 12 plus year career. Hi Trish. A 12-year plus career as a foster carer, mainly teenage boys. We did have a few girls and the age range did vary, but over a 12-year period I probably saw, well, we probably had upwards of 28 children, ranging from long term. I think 8 years was the longest that we had a placement. Sibling groups, we did respite, just one night, 2 weeks, short term, long term. We pretty much did lots of things. And it was that kind of got me more interested in the psychotherapy side of things. I wanted to help the children maybe a little bit more around their mental health and to achieve a little bit more in life than maybe what was expected sometimes of children that had been in the care system. And that was what started me on my psychotherapy journey, which I trained at the Manchester Institute under the wonderful Bob Cook. And yeah, qualified at that. So that's where my background is. That's where my qualification is as a transactional analysis psychotherapist. And as I said, I use the 3 principles coaching, which I kind of discovered by accident while I was doing the NLP and the hypnotherapy training, and it just really, really interested me a lot about human nature and why we do the things that we do and what that's all about. Which is why a lot of the things that I do is based around living life being human. You might be interested in other free stuff that I've got available. I do a podcast once a week, which is called Living Life Being Human. I also run a membership club, which it's about, well, it's £5 a week. So you get me 24/7 if that's what you want to do. You can ask me as many questions. We have a live Zoom every Friday, which is going to be similar to this week. I'm going to be jumping on and doing a live, probably like I said, for maybe about half an hour. And that's going to be on here, but then on Friday you'll get a link to go into a Zoom, and hopefully I can see some faces. We can do some face-to-face stuff. Hi Gemma, how are you? So yeah, we can do a Zoom. Don't be afraid if you haven't done a Zoom before. You can have your sound off, you can have your microphone off, you can have your video off, and you can just be part of it. You can sit and listen. But I would love you to turn your videos on if you decided to join. So yeah, that's a little bit about how I got to be doing what I'm doing, and a little bit about me. I'm a mum. I've got 3 children. My eldest is 32 and my youngest is 16, as I said. I'm also a nanny. I've got a grandson who's 3 in a couple of months, little Alfie. And he's taught me a lot. He teaches me something new every day, as well as put a smile on my face, which is lovely. I have had periods of anxiety. I have suffered anxiety at various periods. I suffered from postnatal depression with all 3 of my children, and it got progressively worse with each one. I quite openly will talk about losing the plot with the 3rd. Yeah, I went through a very difficult period after the birth of my 3rd son. Was diagnosed with postnatal depression and put on antidepressants, even though I didn't know that's what they were when they put me on them. But that's another story. And I can honestly say it took me 18 months to 2 years before I felt back 100% me. So it was quite a difficult time. So when I talk about anxiety, it's not something that I've just learnt from a textbook. I have actually experienced it myself. My son was in the military. He's not anymore. My daughter is in the military still. But my son has suffered from postnatal depression. Not postnatal depression, PTSD. He hasn't had any children. So that kind of brought things to the fore as well, as far as some of the experiences that he spoke about. And we've done a live together talking about various things around that, which is over on my YouTube channel if you're interested in looking at that. So this is going to be about exploring anxiety, and you might learn some new things about anxiety. You might learn some new things about yourself. So I just want you to sit back and hear what I've got to say around this. You can agree or disagree. You can post in the comments with pleasure, because as I said, I'm not going to give you top 10 tips to rid yourself of anxiety forever. You know, if you do this and this, then you're going to run skipping through the fields and be happy as Larry, because unfortunately I don't believe that is the case. I do believe that anxiety is something that we need in our life. The difficulty is when it impacts us on a daily basis. We can't ever be anxiety free. Any courses, any groups, anything that says that they can make your life completely free of anxiety, I don't think are doing just desserts. Because anxiety is connected to our survival mechanism. It's connected to our fight and flight and freeze, which is part of us as human beings. It goes back to caveman times. I'm sure you've heard me talk about this before, or you will, know this by if you've Googled anything from suffering from anxiety. Is that it's the amygdala part of the brain that's triggered, and it's the fight and flight when the adrenaline and the cortisol gets released and the heart palpitations and all those sorts of things. That's connected to the anxiety and the panic attacks. So that's that's a reflex action that we all have, and we need that for our survival. So we can't ever be free of anxiety. But what we can do is to manage the symptoms and to manage how it impacts us on a daily basis. So the title of this course being an exploration around anxiety is exactly it. That I want us to just explore some things around anxiety and see if anything resonates for you, to see if anything tweaks your interest, so that you can, be part of this, Facebook page that I've got. There's a free group that's attached to this, and I'm happy to offer anybody support. I know at the moment we're all going through, well, in the UK we're going through lockdown 3, and a lot of people are suffering maybe more with anxiety than they have done previously. So any support I can offer, then I'm happy to do that. So I've got some things up here. You might see me looking over here because I did write a few things down, because what I tend to do when I'm on a live is just gab about things. If there's anything specific that you want me to cover throughout the week, then please comment, and I am happy to do that. But I'm just going to talk about a few things on here. And the first one that I wrote down is a question that I get asked quite a lot, which is, why do I get anxious about certain things? And that's quite an interesting one, because we can talk a lot about health anxiety, social anxiety, the people that get anxious when they go to the shops, people that get anxious when they need to go to the doctors, people that have needle phobias, all these various things that, sorry, I'm just turning my fire off, it's going to be hot. All these different types of causes that we can experience anxiety. And the interesting thing about being a human being is that we experience everything through our own eyes and our own thoughts. So if needles caused people to be anxious, then everybody would be anxious around having a vaccination or needles, and it's not the case. So one of the first things that I would like you to just be open to is that our thoughts create our feelings 100% of the time. Often we blame external events for the way that we feel. So if we have a fear of going to the doctors, then we will blame going to the doctors for the feelings of anxiety. The reality is that our thoughts and feelings around anxiety come from inside us. So your anxiety is going to be completely unique to you. Nobody will experience the same anxieties that you have. Nobody will experience anxiety in the same way that you do. We all experience it differently. We all cope with our anxiety completely differently as well, dependent on our thoughts around it again, but our life experience as well. My sister suffered from anxiety since, I think she was 11 the first time she had her first anxiety or panic attack, which was a long time ago. She won't mind me saying it. She is knocking on a bit now. We both are, to be fair. But when I get anxious, I shut down and I go quiet. That's what I do. I withdraw, I retreat. I don't tell anybody what's going on for me. I'm quite good at doing things. I get busy. I'll decorate. I'll move furniture. I'll take on a new job. I'll volunteer for something. I literally do something to avoid the feelings that I'm having. Whereas my sister is quite open about talking about her anxiety, and she will tell people that what she's experiencing in that moment. So you will probably find at some point that you are more aware of what happens when you feel anxious. You might feel nauseous, you might get migraines, you might need to be around people, you might withdraw, you might experience different physical symptoms to the next person. So it's about building up your own awareness about, one, maybe what can trigger it for you. It is your thoughts that are doing it, but certain situations about your thoughts about certain situations are what triggers your anxiety. You will also become more aware of how you react and respond to your anxiety, and that is unique to you. That's different to anybody else. Because often when we find somebody else suffers from anxiety, we automatically assume that they feel the same way that we do, and that's not the case. I often get asked if a parent suffers from anxiety, if they can pass it on to their children. Am I going to teach them how to be anxious? Is me suffering from anxiety going to inflict anxiety on other family members? And that's not the case. My mum doesn't suffer from anxiety, but yet my sister does. I've had periods of my life where I've been anxious. So we're all unique and we're all different, which is why probably I struggle with the top 10 tips to get rid of anxiety, because we're all so different. Certain things will resonate with you, and certain things you'll think this is a load of rubbish and it doesn't make any sense to me, and that is absolutely fine. So that was the first thing. Why do I get anxious about certain things? You get anxious about certain things because you have thoughts about certain things that cause your anxiety. It's like if somebody's frightened of dogs, not everybody's frightened of dogs, but if you're going out for a walk in the park and you see a dog and you have a fear of dogs, then you're going to start having certain thoughts. That dog's coming quite close. It's not on its lead. What if it comes over to me? That can be enough to trigger your anxiety. You could be walking with a friend who has no fear of dogs whatsoever, and actually, come on over to me. We all react differently to different situations. So I've said that your anxiety is unique to you. You will also, this is going to sound a bit radical, and again, you can comment. How much have I missed, Lottie? You haven't missed that much. Gemma's, I'm sorry, I've not scrolled up. These comments are coming up now. Gemma said, I go quiet and withdraw. I can talk about it if I'm not having it. I'm exactly the same, Gemma. I talk about things after the fact. So if I'm having, anxiety, or I have had full-blown panic attacks, I will withdraw at that point, and I'm happy to talk about it after I've recovered, if that makes sense, when I can rationally start to talk again and I'm not in that fight and flight situation. Hi Lottie, nice to have you here. Feel free to comment, but just be mindful that it is an open page and people can see your comments after the fact. So yeah, live script, that was something else that I wanted to talk about. We can be quite protective of our anxiety, which sounds a bit of a random thing to say. I know I talk about my sister quite a bit, and like I say, she doesn't mind, but she can be quite protective of her anxiety, in as much as if anybody asks her to do anything or go anywhere, the first thought that she has is, well, I can't because I get anxious. I can't do that because of my anxiety. And it's kind of like being a part of her life for so long. As I said, she was 11, that it's familiar to her in a way. She just expects to feel it at certain times. She expects to feel anxious when she goes so far away from home. She expects to feel anxious if, there's something new that she needs to do. So it's kind of like part of her, and that can become part of our life script, and it can become part of our thoughts around things, that it just becomes habitual. It's natural for us to consider our anxiety. And if you have access to the free course, or the course that has a coupon that you can access, I do talk about it being kind of like that friend that we had at school that just hung around with us, that wasn't really in the in crowd but just hovered on the outskirts of things. And that's kind of how I see anxiety a lot of the time. We can't get rid of it. It is useful at some point, but it's just always there. If you suffer from anxiety or overthinking, it's always part of your life. It becomes habitual behaviour, and it becomes kind of part of your life story. Some people actually describe themselves as, I'm an anxious person. And I would like to just challenge that, because we're not born anxious. We have the ability to be scared of certain things. We're actually born with two reflexes. One is a fear of loud noises, and one is a fear of falling. Those are the only two fears that we have from the day that we're born. The rest, it's learnt behaviour. It's things that we do in order to protect ourselves. And as I said earlier on, my grandson is coming up to 3. He teaches me so much every day about the things that we were born with and without. And as I said, we're born with two fears. One of fear of loud noises and one is a fear of falling. The rest, we learn them, experience certain things, and we take it in our stride. My grand, he dislocated his elbow a couple of months back and he had to go to A&E, and, you know, they sorted it out. They put it back in and everything. He didn't overthink that at all. He came running out of the hospital and wanted to go back to the park and just carry on playing. There was no fear in him whatsoever. And it just triggers my interest sometimes, that at what point do we start to overthink things? At what point do we do the what ifs? What if that happens again? What if? As a psychotherapist, I know the ages and stages that we go through. So I kind of know the answer to that we get to a certain age and then we start to compare and contrast, and we can lay down memories and things like that. So then we start to question things. If we've had a bad experience once, it might be with a dog. I spoke about a dog earlier on. You might have had a bad experience with a dog. Dependent on your age, you would just put that down, forget it, not really go back to it. If it happened when you were a little bit older, then you start to lay down certain memories about that and certain fears and certain thoughts around it, and that's what creates the fear or the anxiety around that. So as I said, my grandson teaches me something new every day. The stages that he's going through, we all have that ability. We weren't born with anxiety, so it's in us to be less anxious. It's in us to not do the what ifs, because that's how we're born. And that's something that I would just like you to muse over throughout this week. One of the sayings that I say is actually, if I move my head out the way, it's actually behind me on that sign, is be curious. That's all I ask of people when they're listening to my lives that I do. I do a live on this page every week, so you know, it's not just this week. I do it every Friday at 7:30 anyway. This is just going to be a block of a week. Is to just be curious. Be curious about when you're anxious. Be curious about your thoughts around anxiety. Be curious about your fear around anxiety, because often it's the fear of the fear that causes it. The actual fear we can cope with. It's the thoughts about it that trigger lots of things for us. So if you've got a doctor's appointment and you don't like going to the doctors, you will start to be fearful of that way before the appointment, and that will cause a lot of the anxiety for you. Just be mindful of that and just be curious, because awareness is the key to everything in my book. Once we become aware of the what ifs that we have, once we become aware of the things that cause us to overthink or become stressed and all those things, then we can do something about it. When it happens out of our awareness, we're already in it before we even realise. We're already in that anxious state. And once the cortisol and the adrenaline and everything is running, our logical brain, the grey matter at the front, it shuts down. We can't think. Like, you can't think your way out of a panic attack. It doesn't work. Literally, we have to wait till the adrenaline, the cortisol levels drop enough so that we can get back into our thinking brain. And that's kind of medically proven. When we say we flip our lid or whatever, it's literally the grey matter is just shut down. We're just running on emotion and feeling. And to try and snap somebody out of that can be quite difficult. I will talk a little, I'm not a medical person at all, but I will talk a little bit about the things that are happening in our body when we are having anxiety, because it's kind of like we've called for an ambulance. Our thoughts trigger certain things that then release all these hormones and adrenaline and everything. But then we get cheesed off when the ambulance turns up, as in our anxiety comes, when we've actually dialed 999 and asked it to come and save us from something we think we need to be fearful of. I hope this is all making sense for you. Hopefully something will resonate. If you want to know more about a certain thing and I've not quite made it clear, then please do message me. Please do leave a comment. What else have I got on here? Yeah, that we all have the ability to not do the what ifs. We all have the ability to be in the here and now and to experience an event and then let it go. I often speak to clients about if you went out one day and something really good happened and you experienced this wonderful feeling of of love and warmth and connection and glow, and you were really happy and walking on air and everything, would you keep mithering about it, or would you just experience it and then let it go? Those are the things I want you to be curious about, because the reality is that's what we do a lot of the time. We experience the nice stuff, we think, oh, that was really lovely, I really enjoyed that, it was a really good night, and we move on to something else. If we went out and something triggered our anxiety and we had a night of anxious thoughts, sometimes it's just rumbling under the surface, we don't go into full-blown panic attack, we're just feeling unease, we're just feeling a little bit anxious, things just don't feel right for us, we can keep going back to that for days on end. Oh, I went out, but yeah, I felt really bad, I didn't enjoy it at all, I was just so unease feeling all the time, I don't want to go back there again. We don't do that with lots of other feelings, and I just get curious about why that is. Why can we drop certain things and yet other things we go round and round and round and round? We have the ability as human beings to pick up and put things down at will. We just choose to do it with certain things and not others. What else have I got to do? Yeah, our past does not define who we are. My sister defines herself as an anxious person, and I'm constantly berating her about that. She's not an anxious person. She's a person that has had anxiety in her life. She's a person that sometimes feels anxious, but she is not an anxious person. There is no such thing as an anxious person. It's kind of like saying she's happy all the time. It's an impossibility. We can't experience a feeling constantly 24/7, 7 days a week. We can't do it. Even if you feel like you're anxious a lot of the time, there will be other feelings that come in. You might have to go somewhere and you're not feeling very well, you're feeling a bit uneasy about it. The postman knocks on the door and you get surprised. You are feeling surprised. So you're anxious and then you feel surprised. You open a present and it's off a friend that you haven't seen for years, and she's remembered that it's an anniversary or something. So then you feel all warm and glowy inside. You've put the anxiety down, you felt surprised, you feel all warm and glowy. Often what happens is we'll pick the anxiety up again, but it's not the same feeling that you're feeling all the time. We put it down and pick it up throughout the day. And another thing I often say to clients is, having a bad 5 minutes doesn't mean you're having a bad hour, and having a bad hour doesn't mean that you're having a bad day, and having a bad day doesn't mean you have a bad week. Try not to group it all together. In a day, you might experience anxious feelings half an hour tops. There will be other things that come in. That's what I would like you to focus on, and just be curious about certain things. I'm going down my list now, so I'm getting a bit further. So I've spoke about outside in thinking and inside out thinking. This is something, again, that I talk a lot about. You'll be sick to the back teeth of me saying this all week, because I do talk about the same things over and over in different ways, hopefully, so that something will resonate with you. If it's an event that causes us to feel a certain way rather than our thoughts, we blame an outside person, thing or place for the feelings that we have. That's what I call outside in thinking. I talk about my ex-husband a lot. No, I was going to say something then, but I won't. If it was my ex-husband that made me feel a certain way, that's outside in thinking. It's my thoughts about the stuff that he did that makes me feel a certain way, not him. And it took me a long time to get that understanding. I would keep, no, it's not that. It's him. It was him. The things that he did made me feel this way. He makes me so angry. He makes me so this. He doesn't. It's my thoughts about the things that he did that cause me to feel the way that I do. And that was such a revelation to me. So the dentist, I've spoke about the dentist before. I don't particularly like going to the dentist. My dentist is a really nice chap. It's not the dentist that makes me feel the way. It's my thoughts about going to the dentist. And interestingly enough, they've never hurt me. I've never been in pain when I've been at the dentist, but I still have those feelings. I know now what it's all about. I know it's my thoughts that are creating the feelings, so I can kind of quieten them down. Sometimes they come thick and fast and catch me unawares. I'm not perfect. I know all of this stuff, but I still get caught out now and then because I'm human just like you. The things that impact on me were my anxieties and my thoughts around that, or where my state of mind is. If I'm in a good mood and I'm in a good place, things don't seem to impact me as much. Um, if I'm not in such a good place, if my state of mind has dropped, then sometimes the thoughts come and I don't realise straight off. And again, that's just part of being a human being. With COVID and the being in lockdown 3 that we're all in at the moment, things happen where we just get caught out unawares. When all this first started, I would have Sky News on 24/7. You know, when talking back last March, nearly 12 months ago now. Geez, we've been in this for a long time. I had Sky News on 24/7, literally flicking from one channel to the other to find out what was going on and how many cases there'd been and all this sort of stuff. And I was so anxious. And it wasn't until I realized, why would I not be anxious when I've got all this stuff bombarded at me? Me putting the channels on and flicking through them. So I literally stopped. I came off watching a lot of things because it was causing me to feel more anxious. My thoughts about the virus were causing me to feel more anxious. And one of the other ways that to explain that is, you know, when you're watching the news and you've got the little ticker tape that goes along the bottom. I can be listening to the news and not really paying much attention, and I see that ticker tape across the bottom, and it might be that, I don't know, there's been a road accident, and I kind of see it going across, and I think, oh, what a shame. Nobody likes seeing that there's been a road accident and everything. And then the ticker tape comes across again, and it says road accident in the northwest, and it'll pique my interest a little bit more because I live in the northwest. So it's like, oh God, I wonder if there's anybody that I know that's been in that. And then it comes across the bottom again, and it's like there's been an accident in Chorley, and that's kind of really close to where I live now. So then I start to overthink that. I start to think I might know somebody that's been in that accident. That's terrible. And I might actually phone my friends and my relatives up and make sure that everybody's okay. So it's the fact that that ticker tape has gone across there, and it started off that it's kind of in the UK, and then it's in the northwest, and then it's closer to me. That creates an awful lot of thinking for me that then will create the feelings. Somebody else will be reading that and it will have no impact on them at all because they're not starting to bring the thoughts to life, because they don't live in that area, because it's highly likely they're not going to know anybody that's there, so it won't impact on them. Gemma, I did the same, once a day only now, so I know what's going on and that's it. Yep, 100%, Gemma, I'm exactly the same. Catch it at the end of the day just to get the figures and see if we've come into lockdown or out of lockdown, and or if the kids are going back to school. That's pretty much it. And I'm a lot less anxious about things. Of course, I'm concerned about the situation that we're in, and I wear my mask, I social distance, I'm doing all the right things and protecting myself and family as much as possible. But I don't need to be bombarded with it 24/7. And the other thing, just to finish off on tonight's, and give you a bit of a breather so that you can inwardly digest this or ask any questions if that's what you want to do, is that sometimes we look downstream as opposed to upstream. Sometimes we try to deal with the symptoms of the anxiety, to deal with the fears, and I see it as being downstream. That, you know, when it's kind of like, I don't know, there's been a lot of rain lately, so the levels are rising, and you know, it's a bit faster, the stream's running a bit faster, and it's churning things up, and you know, there's a lot of muck and gloop and everything at the bottom, and we're trying to wade through all of that. We're trying to clear it, we're trying to sort it out, when it's much easier to look upstream before things start to get churned up and a bit messy. And that's how I see, if you can get the equation into your head that our thoughts create our feelings and then we act on it, that will calm things down an awful lot, because it's a process. It's an understanding, and I know if I start to feel the things that, even just that breathing in, then if I start to notice that my breathing is speeding up, if I start to notice that I'm getting that tightening in my chest, I will go to my thoughts straight away now. What am I thinking about? What's causing my body to react in this way? Rather than get caught up in the feelings and think, oh my God, my chest is, I'm feeling tight. I think I can't breathe, my palms are sweaty, you know, I get tingly feelings and all those sorts of things. Once we get caught up in the feelings, we're forgetting about our thoughts and the thinking. Whereas once you understand this stuff, if you get a feeling, it will direct you back to your thoughts. What am I thinking about that's causing me to feel this way? Because, to be perfectly honest, the only time that we need to have anxiety and that rush of adrenaline is in a life and death situation. If you were crossing the road and a car was coming and your mate grabbed you and pulled you back, you would have that whoosh, and we need that whoosh at certain times. But if I'm sat down watching television, there is no reason for me to have that whoosh. If I hear a bang outside, I might jump and be startled, but as soon as I think, oh, it was a car backfiring, back to watching the telly. That's how it should work. The levels go up, they come back down, and everything's fine. With anxiety and the way that we live our lives now, often the anxiety goes up and it stays. It doesn't actually come back down. And then something else happens and we go up. It's a lot quicker. So yeah, talking about the upstream and the downstream, I've had a leak. My roof is leaking horrendously. It's going to cost me an astronomical amount of money to fix my roof. We only found out that my roof was leaking because I was getting dampness on the roof in the shower. We started to think, oh, well, we'll retile it. So there's a bit of damp coming through, so we'll retile it and we'll make it look pretty. And my darling eldest son started to knock off the tiles, and it was like, oh, there's a bit more going on here. So we need to fix the roof. That's the bottom line. I can fix the shower, I can retile the shower, and we can regrout it and everything, and it will look lovely for a while, but the roof will still be leaking. So that's kind of where I go with some of this, is that we can deal with the symptoms downstream, like my shower and the mould, or we can look upstream, which is like the roof and my shower, or our thoughts create our feelings. And the more I say that, and the more we talk about it in different situations, hopefully it will start to filter down. When I first heard about this, I was thinking, it's too simple. My thoughts create my feelings and then I act on them. It's too simple. The feelings I have are so overwhelming and consuming. It's not coming from my thoughts. I'm not creating this. Something is doing this to me. There's something wrong with me. My mental health is broken. I'm ill. All these sort of things were going through my mind. And it took a while before I had an insight and a realization that actually it is my thoughts that are creating my feelings. And then you lose it again. And you go back to looking for something external to blame it on, or something being wrong. But the more you are curious about this, the more you explore this, the more you talk about this with people around you, the more it goes down. So that, yes, I do get triggered. Yes, I do feel anxious, because it will always be part of being a human being. But it doesn't impact on my life as much now. If I feel anxious, I know I'm having anxious thoughts, and I can settle myself down. Yes, I still have the symptoms, but it's not as bad. I don't fear it happening to me anymore, because I know, one, that I will survive it. It's not going to kill me. And two, that I will come out the other side. So those are the sort of things that I'm going to be talking about this week. I hope that's helped. I'm going to wipe off my list now and start to do another one for tomorrow. I'm just checking to see if there's anything that I haven't said. I don't think so. As a first night and as a first introduction, I hope that's tweaked your interest a little bit about what's to come this week. So I'm probably going to do a little bit maybe on our life story tomorrow, and our life script. Yeah, I'm going to do a little bit on that. And I will be doing these on this page Monday, Monday today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then there will be a live Zoom call where I would love people to come and join me. So ask questions, have a muse, write some things down. Just be curious about your thoughts for the next 24 hours until we come back 7:30 again tomorrow night. Just be curious about your thoughts and where they are. Don't be judgmental about them. Don't say, oh, why am I thinking that again? If you're having a thought, just be curious about why that thought. And slow things down. That's the other, if I was to give a tip that I would give to you, is to use full stops. On that sign again behind me, it says be curious and use full stops. And when I say use full stops, what I mean is our thoughts can come thick and fast. We literally, it's like a chain, and it is just bang, 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 bang. I've got to go to the doctors. Oh my God, I hate going to the doctors. What if there's somebody that's sitting close to me? What if there's somebody that's ill in there? What if? Try just saying something like, you can say, oh my God, I've got to go to the doctors if you want to. Oh my God, I've got to go to the doctors. Full stop. Literally say full stop. Whether you say it out loud or whether you say it in your head, but say full stop. Another thought will probably come after it and say full stop, rather than them coming so fast that you can't actually process one thought before there's another one coming straight after it. That can sometimes help, particularly when we're in a situation that we know is going to make us have lots of thoughts and overthink and become quite stressed about it. So that's my top tip, if I'm giving top tips for today. Be curious and use full stops. And I will see you hopefully at 7:30 tomorrow. If anything comes up for you in the next 24 hours, message me, comment, and I'm quite happy to talk about it. I will keep it anonymous, but I'm quite happy to answer any questions tomorrow night. So enjoy the rest of your Monday evening, and I shall see you all very soon. Take care.